This is KOOP HD1 HD3 Hornsby, radio for people, not for profit. Welcome to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Each week, we explore how your library is more than books. The library is knowledge, technology, and inspiration for our community.
This is Valerie Romness, Director-Editor of challengerNewspaper.org. Thanks for listening. We're happy to be back, bringing you the writings of the Challenger Street newspaper.
The opinions expressed in the following stories reflect the authors and are not the opinions of Co-op Radio or the Austin Public Library. Thank you for listening.
I'm Sketch. I'm a writer for the Challenger Street newspaper here in Austin, and I'm going to read an article that's currently in the May issue. It's entitled Handicapped But Not Immune. Wednesday afternoon, walking back to camp after attending the Challenger Street newspaper meeting and recording for an upcoming APL Volumes radio show, I stopped to say hi to a friend of mine who is a mainstay on 6th Street. I'll refer to my friend as the drummer man. My friend is 60 plus years old, permanently disabled. He literally lives in his wheelchair, and he's respectful. He made the comment to me that I should write an article about the trials and tribulations he's faced trying to keep his spot on 6th Street and attempt to earn a meager living to supplement his disability pay. This man can be seen and heard every day on 6th Street. People have come from as far away as New Jersey to see and listen to him here. His popularity soared after his YouTube video went viral. Lots of locals stop and chat with him all the time. He's not seen as a threat to the city's economy by them. As South by Southwest began, the APD and certain other locals told him he couldn't sit in his spot and play during the hugely popular Austin event that practically turns the city upside down. Why is this? Is he thought of as being that good? Does he intimidate the scheduled performers? Does his presence interfere with the event? Does Drummer Man cause visitors to suddenly leave? I don't think so. So why do the officials running this city think this way? It's utterly ridiculous. Is he supposed to take a break from performing and eating until the event has left town? How is it they see it as appropriate, much less legal, to control this man's presence here because of an event happening that brings so much income to the city's economy? Does the drummer man jeopardize that? Not hardly. He should be viewed as a local enticement for visitors to not only attend the event, but to experience a taste of what makes this city the live music capital that it is fondly referred to. When my friend stated to me to write an article, I first thought, why haven't I thought of this before? I then responded with the resounding, hell yeah, I'll write an article about you. This man's journey here in Austin is worth a few articles. I am going to continue to get this friend's story and write it for the Challenger and the people of Austin. The handicapped as well as the homeless are constantly being shortchanged and discriminated against here, and it's all being done by the people who should be fair and honest with the inhabitants of Austin and its surrounding areas. The cosmetic politics reverberating here has got to stop. We are confronted with promises and talk about how the city wants to help the homeless and the handicapped on a daily basis. But on a daily basis, what we see is harassment and unfair treatment. I intend to get my friend's story, publish it in print, and see what the majority of you think about the true facts and situation of a local handicapped person being treated as though he wasn't handicapped and as being an undesirable element downtown. Myself and Kim are witness to proper people breaking laws every day and getting away with it. The police seem to turn their cheek and look the other way while apparently seeking out someone homeless or handicapped to mistreat and degrade. This isn't the American way, folks. And Drummer Man isn't the only handicapped person here mistreated by the APD or its officials. America officially adopted the International Declaration of Human Rights back in the 70s. But in this day and time, this document is overlooked and are completely disregarded by officials. The country's federal officials need to be clued in as to what's happening here. If a light isn't shown on this immoral treatment, it's bound to continue and eventually decay the attractive reputation this city has. Travelers come from far and wide to get some of Austin's aura. But do they leave spreading the word of music and love in Austin to their friends? What do you think? Keep reading the Challenger Street newspaper and you decide. Oh, and have a really weird day.
My name is Christopher Carr. I'm a writer-distributor for the Challenger, and I also have the privilege of being a member of the Homeless Advisory Committee of Austin, which is composed of other homeless people like myself, who are interacting with members of the Mayor's Innovation Team every other week over at the former location of the Falk Library. And so I decided, after doing this, that I was going to do a biographical profile of each member of this team. And the one in the current June-July issue is of one individual who's not really on the I-team, but is an auxiliary support person, and a very crucial one. Her name is Laura Evanoff. She's a licensed clinical social worker. And this is the article about Laura Evanoff. Every other Monday, the members of the Homeless Advisory Committee of Austin gather at either the Terrazas branch or the former Central APL at the Falk. These Mondays always begin with a guided coping mechanism facilitated by Laura Evanoff, who is the Performance Monitoring and Technical Assistance Manager for ECHO, which is the Ending Community Homelessness Coalition. Since she represents ECHO, Laura is not specifically a member of the Mayor's I-team, but she brings her experience and knowledge as well as very therapeutic demeanor to the HACA group. Many of the coping strategies she facilitates for the HACA group can be put into practice immediately. Aside from being from ECHO, Laura is a valued member of the enterprise we are all engaged in, which is changing the culture of homelessness for the benefit of all persons. Laura Evanoff says she's from a small town in West Texas, but she recently moved to Austin from Houston. She did her undergraduate work in psychology at Southwestern University in Georgetown and earned a master's degree in social work from the University of Houston. Laura says she's always had a strong desire to help others. She says the profession of social work has been a perfect fit for those values. In the text, I actually have a quotation that sort of illustrates Laura's ethic when she is doing her coping activities for the Homeless Advisory Group. And the quotation is, Laura says, "Working to end homelessness is more than just a job. For me, it's the right thing to do." And now in another note, Laura says some people think of her as a crazy cat lady because she's into the cat videos and all the funny things, cat meme movement on the internet and all that kind of stuff. She uses that as a coping mechanism. She often tells us she has problems saying no, and she has boundary problems. And it makes us feel like, well, hey, we do too, that kind of feeling. But she explains how these are my issues, and I use these mechanisms myself. And she uses the cat meme and the cat videos to change her demeanor and change her mood if she's in a bad place, perhaps. And I appreciate that. So prior to working for ECHO, Laura's worked in local political campaigns, permanent supportive housing programs, as well as providing direct clinical assistance to clients as a licensed clinical social worker. While in Houston, Laura piloted programs to end veteran and chronic homelessness, and she's passionate about using evidence-based practices to improve program outcomes. Today on Co-op, I'm going to be reading the two poems that I have published in the current Challenger. And the first one is a recollection of the Irish poet Seamus Heaney, who died a few years ago. He was won a Nobel Prize for Literature, which he very roundly deserved. And this is called Heaney. I thought about you, as I often do, the sound of shame in your name. Anomalous instances, I think, without sound, goat heads who never stop. Never do they question the passed over silences. I never saw you in motion, your squinty Irish dough face, your sailing ideas. It is all there seeking origins, beginning. In Texas, English is beside and above Acadian silences, where the ghost of the Armada fords the river. In Texas, though, I have the sense then, you and I not lacking origin, but imaginary Lambeth and her spousal homicide. What love, what love. Their provenance dressed up in gardens apparent math. Who mean, this imaginary island, how I despise it so. The red flag rid you. The crown put you to this task, the same way this peculiar skillet of wasteland, blood sponge of dust, put me to this, knowing nothing. When I am in Belfast, if you like England so much, why don't you move there? Tell them how you get to write forever and forever. And the second poem is titled On Coming Across Your Name, in a fragment by Mallarmé. And Stéphane Mallarmé is one of the French symbolists, along with Baudelaire and Rimbaud. And so one of my colleagues on the Homeless Advisory Committee, his last name is a foreign word for snow. And I came across this, well, it's a French word for snow, and I came across this in a Mallarmé poem, which I then read in translation, and it's an extremely difficult poem to get, but it's very rewarding. So this is this poem, One Coming Across Your Name, in a fragment by Mallarmé. I didn't know it was snow, but should have. No poetry here, save the electronic obsolescence, peculiar, what verse this age? Or is it an age? A Sothic culminate. I revisit problems, have precisely nothing. Do you see I resume the what do you call this vacuum of music? Teutonic evidence of compose, poems encompassing prequelics, titling, I turn to you, fellow ghost of the tongue. Turn to Ireland. I think it's Saint Ciopian, who always smiles my whole name. She's going to Waterford for an American wedding, its namesake anniversaries that never transpire. Maybe this wasn't the poem. You, Ireland's troubles, Lambeth, crown. No wonder I find him raging in ancient filth. But me, where am I found? An England colonial remove. After 1949, no history worth knowing. I seek some analogy in Bunting. Too parochial. The Coleridge dictum. I do Android Google search. The poem in fifth I was mature enough to steal. Cat. Flower pot. Google.
My name is Blair Parsons, and I'm a librarian at the Central Library. Each week I highlight a selection of programs for adults that are happening around the Austin Public Library, and our full list of programs may be found on the library's events calendar. The Central Library's Almost Perfect Fix It, Stitch It, Hack It, Switch It workshop happens this Thursday night, June 21st, from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the Special Events Center. We all have that one textile that's almost perfect, the garment you keep but never wear, or the bag you store but never carry. Fear not, devoted followers of fashion, form, and function. It's time to take those almost perfect items out of your closet and give them the life they deserve. Bernadette Knoll and her team will lead the charge on our sewing machines and iron on patches and pockets and grommets and lots of other things attendees can use to make almost perfect textile absolutely perfect. There will be screen printers on hand too. The workshop is in the Central Library's Special Events Center from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, Thursday night, June 21st.
Hey there, Austin. This is Sam, here to tell you all about this week's events at Austin's public libraries. Ever wanted to know how to follow your passion and run your own business? The Austin Public Library is giving teens the tools they need to get started with the Like a Boss series. This week, learn to brand like a boss. Mexicarte will be on hand to show teens how to transform their art into merchandise and kickstart their own brand. All supplies will be provided. Brand Like a Boss is making its mark on Saturday, June 23rd at 12 p.m. at the University Hills branch. This program is open to teens ages 13 to 18. More details on Brand Like a Boss and additional summer reading programs can be found at library.austintexas.gov/events.
This is Alana Graves, the youth librarian at the Carver branch. The summer has officially begun, and the Austin Public Library is offering summer reading events for kids. This June and July, the Austin Public Library's very own performance troupe, Literature Live, presents King Midas. Based on the Greek myth, this puppet show tells the story of King Midas, a king who believed he would achieve true happiness when he is given the golden touch. This performance is scheduled at 20 library branches across Austin. This week, be sure to check it out on Sunday, June 17th at 3 p.m. at the Central Library, Tuesday, June 19th at 11 a.m. at the Twin Oaks branch, and Thursday, June 21st at 2 p.m. at the Pleasant Hill branch. Details at library.austintexas.gov.
You're listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on Co-op 91.7 FM and KOOP.org. Radio for people, not for profit.
Welcome back. This is Valerie Romness, Director-Editor of ChallengerNewspaper.org. Thank you for listening.
The opinions expressed in the following stories reflect the authors and are not the opinions of Co-op Radio or the Austin Public Library. Thank you for listening.
My name is Marcellus. It's not about a ticket. I would like to first get something straight. I'm not in any way trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be funny. You can laugh if you want. You probably will at first. In fact, to be honest with you, I want you to laugh. I need for you to laugh. Go ahead. This laugh is on me. I must warn you, however, if you consider what I'm about to tell you to be a joke, the joke might be on you. I'm only trying to bring a very important matter to your attention the best way that I know how. Colin Kaepernick is absolutely right. Not only our courts, but our entire criminal justice system is unjust. The only justice in our justice system is that it is equally applied in an unjust manner. This can be easily proven simply by any traffic citation issued by any police department in the United States. Any citation issued in the United States can be legally paid using play money. This is where you get to laugh at me. As outrageous and absurd as this may sound to you, or you think it will be, it is a reality that can be easily proven, a reality you can easily prove yourself. All you have to do is take the play money, a copy of the oath used to give testimony that proves it, and present it when you pay your ticket. It helps if you believe in and are not afraid of standing up for your legal rights. The oath does not exist in a literary form. The oath is a Boolean expression. This is established by the word "and." The oath is graphically represented in the form of a truth table. A truth table establishing as valid only provisions of "and," as in truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to be recognized. There is only one objective in the courtroom. The objective is to arrive at justice. It is deemed by the court to be the only way to arrive at justice. You arrive at justice by the word "and." If the court is found to be basing its decisions on provisions of "or" rather than "and," then the court considers legal any decisions based on provisions counter to the agreement that it itself establishes. For documentation, this would mean that the court accepts and recognizes as legal fiction and nonfiction. Real money, nonfiction, and play money, fiction, are both considered legal by the court. You can legally pay a ticket in Monopoly money. Despite this, and all kidding aside, this is not the real issue. It goes far beyond a ticket. When taken on a broader context, because of a disregard for the oath, you and I are routinely being denied due process by the court. The police are allowed to legally get away with murder. Truth. Spoken word, anything you say. Miranda, play money. I shot him in the back because I feared for my life. Whole truth. Whole truth makes truth physically possible. Whole truth must physically exist. If whole truth is not proven to physically exist, truth alone is not sufficient to arrive at justice. And the rule of law, deemed by the court, nothing but the truth, understood or documented as proven fact that whole truth can physically exist. Nothing is the product of imagination. The oath originates outside the courtroom door. If whole truth is not proven to physically exist, truth is the product of "or." When we speak, our voice is physically carried on a sound wave. The sound wave is called whole truth. Our spoken words are called truth. Doesn't mean that it has to be the truth. In order to lie, you must first speak. A lie is called truth simply because it is spoken. Our vocal cords produce a sound wave. We must be alive for this to happen. Nothing but the truth is understood or documented as proven fact that whole truth can physically exist. As long as you are alive, you are nothing but the truth. You are not yet dead. I once wrote an article stating that it is possible to legally pay a ticket issued by the Austin Police Department using Monopoly money. 2 members of the Challenger newspaper and I attempted to prove it in the municipal court building on 7th Street. I was told that I had traffic violations from over 10 years ago. I was told that because the court has an expiration date on due process, I was not able to contest the tickets. I went to the cashier and proceeded to attempt to pay my tickets using play money that I had purchased at a dollar store. I presented the pay money and a copy of the truth table, which validated my right to make the payment in this manner. Needless to say, the staff at the court was surprised. They tried to tell me they only took legal tenders payment. I tried to explain that this was not so. I spoke with Ken Gore, the court supervisor. I explained that Miranda and the play money are considered to be one and the same. They are both considered valid on the provisions of or. We do not say, I swear to tell the truth, whole truth, or nothing but the truth. If you or I were ever put on trial, accused of a crime, the district attorney could use documentation that has the literary worth of play money or nursery rhyme. According to the court, both Miranda and the play money are one and the same. They are both called truth. You cannot arrive at justice by the merits of truth alone. It is physically impossible. They are both inadmissible. They are valid only on the provisions of or. The court recognizes Miranda as legal. The court is obligated by its own words to recognize the legality of the play money. Any police officer who kills an unarmed person and uses "I feared for my life" as their defense is guilty of murder, according to the word of the court. That defense is called truth. It is inadmissible according to the oath. It is inadmissible according to the court. It is physically impossible to arrive at justice by truth alone. No jury should ever be allowed to consider this as evidence. The presiding judge should know that. The attorney representing the slain should most definitely know that. The law schools that produced of both of them should have taught them so. Did I want to go to jail? No. Was I willing to go? Yes. If that is what it takes to shed light on the injustice on the part of our legal system, then I'm willing to do it. If the school kids who survive horrific school shootings are willing to stand, then so am I. If the freedom riders back in the 60s, both black and white, were willing to risk their lives to fight injustice, then so am I. You and I have an advantage they didn't have. We can legally prove it. The reform of our justice system does not start in prison. It starts in the courtroom that unjustly and illegally, according to their own words, put them there.
Hi, my name is Rana, and I am a writer for the Challenger Street paper here in Austin, Texas. And I'm going to be reading an article which is out in our summer double issue, and it is titled "Austin Outreach Goes Digital" by the Lone Spanger. That's me. Are you a tech-savvy transient that somehow wound up on the streets of Austin, Texas? There's an app for that. The webpage is cleroythomas.github.io, and it's easy to navigate for those dealing with homeless-related issues. The app is called Austin Homeless Reduction and has 3 parts. The first channel pinpoints on a map that can be zoomed general services throughout the city, including the Arch, Caritas, and Angel House. The second channel is the Homeless Activity Dashboard, which is designed to be a forum for relaying information in groups relevant to homelessness in this city once it is open. It is still in its startup phase like the rest of the app. The last channel is the Homeless Activity Reporter. This has an option for volunteers, advocates, and social workers to register onto the site and become part of community updates on homeless-related activity they see. The updates can be relayed in the form of geo-mapping where homeless people are gathering and sharing photos of the homeless people and their outposts for the purpose of organizing the analytical data for the future outcome of designing solutions that meet the needs of the current homeless population in our city. In our short email conversation, Chuck Thomas, the app's creator and developer, seemed excited about the potential this site has to grow. Honestly, I am too. This is the first time I've seen anything like this. The direction the open source format on the app takes will hopefully be positive for the city. Whether it is used to illegally gang stalk the impoverished street people will be yet to be seen. Hopefully not.
Hello, my name is Joe. I write under the Pirate Joe handle for the Challenger newspaper. Today I'm going to be reading you one of my articles, which is on the cover of the June and July 2018 issue. The title is Surprise, You're Homeless, with commentary by Chris. There's a myth we are taught growing up. Poverty can be prevented. This isn't to say that there are steps and precautions that can limit the possibility of this unfortunate event. An ounce of prevention works for this as well. However, to assume that one is immune to poverty is to assume that one lives in a vacuum which is only accountable to the will of the pondering and not the exertion of pressure which comes from every other direction of the food chain. The food chain is just a canvas for which other pressures mingle on, other forms of will working directly against you, most often without ever even realizing you as a factor. To sum up, most of the time it isn't personal. We can all be collateral damage in the most banal of thoughtless ways. One of the reasons homelessness is so scary when it happens, or even when people consider it happening to themselves, is the abruptness of the incident. It's like a photo negative of a game show. A game where you're the star, and the show is you lose. And boy, you're losing everything, baby.
And now, Mrs. Johnson, to the lightning round of Surprise, You're Homeless. Surprise, Mrs. Johnson, you're homeless. Jim, could you escort Mrs. Johnson to her dumpster in the parking lot? Thank you.
Quite frankly, homelessness is only mind-numbingly scary for roughly the first 3 months. After that, one of 3 things usually happens. 1, you go some sort of crazy. 2, you gray out into a steady state mild depression anyone can easily make worse self-medicating, which can be, the perfect storm of all the wrong kinds of fun. 3 is wild. You get fed up and you start climbing out, or you acclimate to the money-making hustles. This happens when you begin to appreciate your new nomad nature and compare it to the mad pace of the housed, who stress themselves to death trying to pay their bills with the skin of their teeth as collateral. If you're on step 3, by the way, you can always mix in a little step 1 and 2 for fun this time. The only true prevention of this emotional train wreck I've ever deduced through the experience is inoculation. It's the alien nature of homelessness that encompasses the bulk of the stress when it happens. The solution, pitch a camp off the grid and spend at least 1 weekend or 2 to 3 consecutive days at it once a month. This is a task like physical fitness or cleaning. It's an always thing to be considered a done thing, purely existing in the dynamic and ephemeral world. Kane from Kung Fu, the old TV show, was one of my first heroes. Prior to the understanding of cultural conformity, I knew Kane was a monk, and that was like a holy man of some kind, and that he simply wandered around helping people who were being bullied or oppressed. It wasn't until someone called him a bum that I even considered that. It seems that the homelessness is, at least in part, more about conforming to the culturally expected depression, shame, and desperation expected than to explore one's own condition in it. Hopefully this philosophical pondering will take some of the sting out if it ever happens to you. Just remember, if you're ever facing losing everything, or you find yourself looking at this condition on the horizon, do your best not to be intimidated by the surprise of it. If you want to disarm it, try to be one of the ones who make it fun and an adventure. Adventures, by the way, are at the opposite end of the spectrum of safety. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Special thanks to our producer, DJ Harris, and to the musicians who composed and performed our original theme song, Andrew Noble on violin, Kirk Duvall on guitar, and Mike Wheat on percussion. And thanks to you, our listeners. Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, airs Wednesday afternoons at 2:30 on Co-op 91.7 FM and koop.org. If you catch us mid-show, full episodes and other details can be found at library.austintexas.gov/volumes.